Good afternoon, my beloved friends. It is with a full heart and much joy that I am able to touch back with you today and to speak with you for a while. For it is with great joy that we are watching what is happening on the planet, because it is a time of transition. And while the transition itself is very much like a tug of war, with forces pulling and pushing in opposite directions, in the end, you will enter a time of peace and tranquility, where people will know that they are gods, where they will live in their divine essence, where they will treat people as one, as they will live as one. There will be no more wars. There will be no more division. There will be no more separation from the divine energy. It is a magnificent time that is coming. And from our perspective and our dimension, we can see you inching closer and closer to this, what we'll call an end goal. It's not really an end. It is a new beginning. But it will be the end of the age of ignorance. It will be the end of many of the institutions that you are familiar with. It will be a beginning of a whole new era, a whole new energy, a whole new way of living. So with that, of course, the olds will not go and fade away peacefully. They will try to hang on as much as they can, even though it will be a losing battle. So it will not be easy times, it will be turbulent times, but the thing we wish to impress upon you is to know where you are going and know what will happen. So it will help you as you continue towards the age of knowledge, which is dawning. We encourage you to, as much as you can, go into the energy and become the divine crystalline energy and commune with spirit as you have done today. We do not ask you to do this for as long as you did today, if you do not wish to. But even if you make the connection and stay there for 2 or 3 minutes, it will build up your ability to connect with us, so that when situations happen in your life, and they most probably will, as we are saying that times will get turbulent, you will be able to take a breath, switch into your divine crystalline energy, and allow us to connect, to guide you at that point in time. It is a skill similar to playing the piano, that the more you do it, the more easy it becomes for you. And therefore, as far as what we are talking about, you do not have to go into the energy and practice for an hour as you would the piano. The practice part is in the connection. What will happen once you connect will be very much automatic. Just as you're beginning to see that you are becoming more proficient at the sending and receiving and getting more hits than you used to, it is because of the practice. And what we are saying is connecting with the world of spirit, practicing the connection, not necessarily staying in the energy for very long, but getting there quickly will be a great asset for you in the days to come. The instrument who is speaking to you has practiced that quite often and has practiced being in the energy for longer periods of time. And that allows him to become our instrument. It allows us to speak because he can hold the energy for a long period of time. If you wish that to be your goal, then practice it for a longer period. But we know that you are busy and there's always things happening in your lives. So even if you take 2 or 3 minutes a day to connect, it will be a great benefit for you, because you will not necessarily be standing in front of groups of people and trying to teach them things. You need to be able to connect with us so we can help you and guide you in the precarious times. Because as things progress, things will become more precarious as time progresses. And we know we are there to help you, but you need to have the ability to connect with us and to connect with us quickly. So we urge you and we implore you to sit and practice. Again, only practice the connecting. Feel the difference when you go into the crystalline energy. Call us forth and feel our energy. If you don't have time to sit and commune with us, that's okay. But the fact that you feel us is what's important. Because again, when it'll be necessary, you will be able to do it. We are very pleased with the progress that you are making, and we are just encourage you to continue to practice because it is essential. The days to come will be challenging in many, many areas. And we are not here to put fear into your hearts and minds. Because if you are walking with Spirit, we will be there to guide you the best ways that we can. So we ask you to practice. We ask you to live a spiritual life as you can, doing good deeds for your fellow mankind, to be a service to your fellow human beings, and to be an example of what life will be like once you cross the threshold into the new age. We encourage you. We are here to support you. And remember, we are only a thought away. It's a matter of a thought and shifting your consciousness to receive our impressions, our telepathic thoughts to enter your mind. So please practice when you can. At this point, we are ready to receive your questions.
Thank you, and most welcome to you and your friends, Carl. Thank you for being here. The first question is from Susan Yu. I've heard from different sources that the dark side is planning another pandemic in the new year with intensive lockdowns. Is there anything we can do to stop this from happening? Is there a higher plan also possibly at work with this? Thank you for your help in these confusing times. We know we win. Thank you, Susan.
The situation that you are speaking about is one that is being planned. However, there has been much examination on your plane about what did happen in your last pandemic. And if the lockdowns were appropriate and if they served the purpose that they thought it would. There is a lot of examination on how that virus was released. There is a lot of examination about the inoculations that were given out, the shots that were given out, and whether that really was a benefit or harm to the people. There is much examination going on at this time, so that even when and if they try to repeat this, people will not be as gullible and be so easily swayed to comply with these wishes. There would be a lot more protest, a lot more questioning, a lot more demanding immediate answers. The question remains, what will the dark side do? Will they begin to use force to begin to get their wishes done? Or will they go that far? We ask you to be prepared for times where supplies may not be readily available. So it'd be good to stock up on food supplies and medicines and whatever else you may need and have that on hand, especially if they just try to do another lockdown, because it will not go as smoothly. And if they go as far as forcing it down, it may come to a point where they will not allow you out of your house for a while. So be prepared. Be prepared. Do you understand?
Thank you. Next question is also from Susan. Can you share any insight into the reign of King Charles? Is it all more of the same power that was behind Queen Elizabeth? If so, will there be exposure of this? Thank you so much, Susan.
King Charles happens to be the right man or at the right time, for he has demonstrated already that the monarchy cannot continue to exist the way it had been under his mother's reign. When his mother took the throne so many years ago, it was a very different world. People have migrated and moved into many different areas. The population of Great Britain is not the same composition. It's made up of many, many different types of people. And continuing the way it was under the aristocracy that had been around when Queen Elizabeth began her rule would be the death knell for the country now. King Charles understands that. He understands that he has to bring in, he is the king of everyone, not just a certain group. And he is going to do his best to do that. As a result, he is doing what he can to change the monarchy and change his country to bring it into a newer age, one that is not so rigid. Yes, his institution, the people around him are quite rigid. So he is embattling them to make these changes, but he is making some already. What is interesting about this right now is that in order for the new age to take place, that institution of the monarchy, as so many governments, need to totally change and dissolve. People in the new age will be almost self-governing. they will have the consciousness of doing what is right for everyone. The crime that you are experiencing now will not exist in those days in the New Age. You may wonder how this can be, but you have to remember that the vibration of your planet is changing, and the negative and low energy people who commit the crimes will not be able to survive once this energy is totally modulated into the new era. They will not be able to stand it. They will either manage to change themselves so they get out of their negative energy and their practice of crime, or they'll just go mad enough that they will not exist anymore. It is a sad thing that that will happen, but the earth plane will get to a point where governments are not needed anymore, because everyone will be living in a way that they are concerned about their fellow human beings, and they would not consider doing them harm. They will live in peace and they will live in harmony, and they will recognize that the God within them is the same as the God within their neighbor and in their next neighbor and in every other person they see, no matter what color of their skin or what they believe or their gender or any of it. It's going to come to a point that that will be reality. It is still a journey that needs to be taken, but it will be that way eventually. Do you understand?
Thank you. The next question is from Carol.
If I may continue. The monarchy itself, the institution that is so old, will draw to a close. No matter what this present king does, and even if his son does ascend to the throne, it will not be a long-lived process because of the change. And people will understand that they do not need to be enslaved to a leader anymore. And that will not just happen in the country we're talking about, but it will happen worldwide. You may ask your next question.
Thank you. Next question is from Carol. It's a follow-up from last month. It concerns the scan that I hear we have to go through for our appointments for the currency revaluation to determine if we have a, quote, good heart. If this is true, who set up this program and who determined what a good heart is? If the program rejects a person, what happens to them? Thank you.
This is another one of the schemes that they have come up with in order to control people. What will happen is that they think that this will work, but it will not. It will fail because the people will not allow themselves to be that enslaved anymore. We have spoken about the fact that the vibration of this planet has changed. It has risen. It is not to the point of where it will end up eventually when you go into the age of knowledge. There's a long way to go in that modulation to get there. However, you are at a point where there are enough people to rise up and to say, we will not accept this. This is wrong. We will not do it. The pandemic that you spoke about really broke the camel's back, the straw that broke the camel's back, if you want to say it that way. It was something that people now realize that they've been hoodwinked and tricked into complying. It'll be very difficult to repeat that trickery again, that people will just comply. Yes, there will be a certain amount of people who will comply, but there will be those who will not allow this. There'll be those who will say, this is wrong. We cannot do it this way. And they will seek ways to prevent this and to fight this from being totally enforced. You understand?
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Luvera. And you touched on this already, but let me ask the question. Will King Charles the third have a long reign as King of England?
Well, that's a very difficult question to answer. His mother reigned for 70 years, and obviously he doesn't have that kind of lifespan anymore. But yes, he will be on the throne for quite a while. But it will be a changing monarchy. It will be, let me say it this way. The people who are holding the reins and makes the decisions that, yes, you can do this and you can't do that, and the monarchy wants it this way and that way, they are going to be losing their power. And again, it is not going, it's more like a rheostat where it is going to be, they're going to lose it in a very slow process. And as that happens, the monarchy will be changing and becoming less rigid and much more flexible and much more concerned with the welfare of the people than they used to be. If you think back in history about the kings of England and how one decided, I don't want to be Catholic anymore, I want to be Protestant. And the thousands and thousands of people who fought that and lost their lives in the battles and the beheadings and all the terrible things that happened because the king had that kind of power, that no longer will exist. The people will be much more empowered under the monarchy, and the monarchy will be seen as a much more symbolic leadership than it is right now. The king does not have much political power, but he is more like a figurehead. And what will happen is the political power will be going back to the people eventually. And the king will be kind of the presider over it more than anything else. So the structures of the monarchy will change. The ruling structures within the what they call the firm will change. Things in parliament will also change during his reign. So it is good that he is aware that things need to be changed. He instituted quite a bit of change today in his ceremony. Things will change a lot more. If he was a type of king like his mother was, she was much more rigid. She was very much rooted in the past, rooted in her childhood, the way the kingship was at that time, and the monarchy was at that time, and she did not want to change it very much. Her son is a lot more wise and realizes that we are in times of change, and he will allow as much change as he can allow and create because he knows it is necessary. Do you understand?
Thank you. The next question is from Mary. She would like to know if Trump will be here pursuing the presidency at the time of the next election. Thank you.
Yes, he will be trying to receive the nomination and to be elected once again. But he is a man who understands that there is many, you're calling it dark aspects or the swamp, that there are many things that need to be eradicated in order to empower the people and to make the government more in line with supporting what the people need, as opposed to dominating the people and making them follow certain things that they wish to establish. He understands what's involved. It is a very difficult position, but he will pursue it. He also has come to the understanding that some of the things that he has said in the past caused many problems and caused unnecessary problems. And if he hadn't said it, things might have gotten smoother. He has become a bit more wise as in that area. So he is monitoring himself so that he does not make the same types of mistakes that he had in the past. But he will pursue the presidency. You understand?
Thank you. The next question is from Luvera. As we enter the age of knowledge, will more people reach out to the gifts of the Spirit Church to seek more guidance? Thank you.
The Gifts of the Spirit Church, as you have mentioned, was established many years ago as a lighthouse to attract people to truths that they will not hear in other places. And that agenda has been successfully carried forth for many years through its leaders. There will come a time where, through word of mouth, the people who attend these services and attend these meetings will grow. There will also be other groups that will surface at the time that will also attract people. This organization that you speak of does not hold a monopoly on truth. There are other groups that have similar truths that are coming forth at this time, and it is all good. It is a type of thing where the natural law of attraction will come into place, and people will find this haven of information and will be drawn to it when the time is right. If we had a time machine, if we could take you back, since we were talking about Queen Elizabeth, and if we could go back into the beginning of her reign, if you asked the average person what a medium was, they would not know. Or they would have a very negative response about it, because that is what their religions taught. And back in the days of her early reign, that's the way it was. Much advancement has been made to bring mediumship to the forefront of people's minds. If you mention the word medium now, many people will continue to say that is something you should avoid because it's coming from a negative source. but many people know what it is, and many people understand the healing aspects that mediumship can provide. So many more than beginning of Queen Elizabeth's reign. So mediumship has come to the fore. People understand it. Whether they accept it or not, that's another issue that goes back to their religious training. So as time progresses and we get closer to the new age forming, people will begin to realize that a source of information about the days to come is coming through certain mediums who are open to dealing with that. Some mediums are just formatted, have been trained in a particular system of being focused on communicating with spirits of departed souls. Mediumship is so much more than that, but that is where their focus is. Eventually, there will come a time when they will also learn to expand what they do and to be more of a living communication link with the world of spirit and not just concentrate on information from departed souls. Now, that serves a purpose. It helps many people. I am not saying that is wrong. I'm just saying there's much more beyond that, and that eventually many mediums will expand their practice to include more aspects, such as bringing information from the world of spirit to help to guide people through the days that will come. Both aspects have great value. So don't mistake what's being said. But yes, and time, there will be more people coming to this group as well as others around the world who understand the concepts of what will be needed in the new age of knowledge and are helping to bring people to that point. Do you understand?
Thank you. The next question is from Lavera. Will Prince Harry's departure from royal duty have anything to do with the changes that will take place in the future? Thank you.
There is going to become a time in the future I would say within the next 10 years for sure, that the king is going to become aware and appreciate the fact that the media in his country really set out to sabotage his son and his daughter-in-law. He will make reforms. He will set out to make reforms, and he will guide the government to pass certain laws to change how the media operates in that country. He will also put an end to the sabotage and the negative stories that were given to the press to disseminate. He will put an end to that. He will realize the cost to him personally. The king himself greatly loves his son and his daughter-in-law. He wants more access to his grandchildren that now live in America. This will be a kind of thorn in his side that will spur him on to make these changes as time goes on. He also will have a very major challenge on his hands because his two sons are very much at odds right now. And there needs to be much work done for forgiveness to happen on both sides. And he will try to attempt to make that happen. He is not as rigid as his mother was. His mother would not allow Harry to be working with the royal family part of the year and off for the other part. She would not allow that. He, on the other hand, is much more open to that because he already realizes that the loss of the personal relationship he has with that branch of his family. And he regrets that deeply. And he will try his best to mend it over time. You understand?
Thank you. I think to end this, since there are no other specific questions, I'm wondering if Carl and friends can kind of give us an overview of our world situation, because we understand the white hats are in control, but there's so much darkness that seems to be percolating here still. So when does the media get taken down? And is the contamination of our food supply being reversed? And when will those med beds be released to the public? And the financial system meltdown. So I know this is a lot, but maybe you could give us sort of a brief overview of what we're looking at and where we can see the light, the new age actually being realized in our lives. Thank you.
The questions you pose are natural ones for humans to ask. But for us in our dimension, we have to bring you back to remember that the potentials of any of the topics that you asked about are very difficult to pinpoint, to say that this will happen then and that will happen next and so forth. There are multiple possibilities on every one of those question lines that you asked. There are multiple outcomes, and it all depends on how things unfold and how certain people make certain choices that will alter it. It's very much like if you stand at a base of the tree and you start tracing it up a branch, and the branch goes into two directions, and you go a little bit further and it branches off in two directions again, and it branches off in two directions again and again and again and again and again and again until you get to the top of the tree. So if you follow one line up, you'll end up in one spot. If you follow another line up, you end up in another spot. These are the potentials. It is very difficult for us to know who's going into people in control and how things will unfold, which of those branches are going to happen. There is so much fluctuation and flux within what's going to happen. We can see that the end result is you will get there. But how you will get there and which of those branches is going to be followed to get there is very close to impossible to tell. You are correct. The dark forces are there and they are fighting the light forces. And at some points, the dark forces are winning, and at other points the light forces are winning. And it goes back and forth and up and down. So to answer your question specifically is a very difficult thing to do right now, because there is so much at stake and there's so many variables that we cannot give you precise things at the moment. This is why we encourage you to connect, to develop the connection with spirit, so that when certain things happen in your now at that moment, you can connect with us in the now and get the advice that you need in that moment, because you will have arrived at a certain particular point at that point, and that is where you need the information. There are too many variables. We don't know where you'll be at any particular point to give you correct advice that you can count on. So our answer to you, which is probably very dissatisfying and does not fill your need, but our recommendation to you is to sit and go into the power and connect with us and develop that skill. Because no matter what happens down the line, wherever you are in any timeline or any potential that will happen, you will be experiencing that, and that will be reality for you at that point. So that when you connect with us, we can give you a specific answer that meets the needs at that particular moment, at that particular point in time, in that particular situation, which we might not be able to predict right now. So we ask you to focus on connecting and being one with spirit and being able to receive our thoughts and learning to do that well. And that will serve you no matter which potential comes to be, whatever happens, that will serve you well. I know it's not what you are desiring to know, but that is the most truthful answer we could give you at this point. Do you understand?
Yes, absolutely. I do understand, and I thank you so much, and we'll definitely go within and connect more regularly. Thank you so much.
It is natural to ask those types of questions, because it is natural to want to know and want to prepare and having the foresight. And in times gone by, and we'll go back to Queen Elizabeth again at the beginning of her reign. If you go back into that particular time, it was much easier to make those kind of predictions, because there wasn't so much turmoil. There wasn't so much involved. The stakes were not as high. Things were a lot simpler. Life was a lot simpler back then. So it was easier to answer that type of question. But the way things are now, you actually have to realize you are living through a major tug of war between the light and the dark. And with a tug of war, as you know, it's a back and forth. At one point, one side's winning and another side's winning. So it's much more hard to give you any type of precise answer on specific things like that. Learn to communicate and connect. Do you understand?
Yes, we do. Thank you. We love and appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
It is our pleasure to be here and to give you whatever advice we can as the way we see it in any particular moment. Or, as was always the case, but it's even more so now, it is very difficult to know how things are going to end up exactly. But we can tell you without a doubt that the light forces will eventually win. And you are going into a world that you cannot even begin to fathom at this point in time. It is our pleasure to be here to provide whatever guidance we can and whatever aid we can to help you get to the new age. It is with much joy that we are here to assist you. And we ask that you go ahead, walk your life, live your life, walk your path in the knowledge that Spirit will not let you down. We love you, and you have our blessings. So be it.